Hey y'all, in this video I'm going to be talking about different things I found during the Rematch beta. Just been like workshopping, just lobbing it out. They're pretty useful, especially the first one I feel like is definitely the most useful out of them all, just because it's like such a easily like fixable mistake that a lot of people are doing. And but the rest are not as useful, but still pretty good to know if you want to like mix people or just like general like game knowledge that I'll be going through. Before we get started on that, though, I want to plug in this one video. It's about like general tips, and the tips are really good. So I definitely recommend giving that a watch first if you haven't watched it already, because definitely goes through more like beginner but like foundational knowledge of like how this game works. And yeah, so with that, let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about, which is I feel like is definitely most useful, like if you get anything out of this video, like please get this. uh, I see a lot of people, myself included, get into this really ugly animation when they want to turn around, and like it's just so laggy and so god awful and so shitty when you fucking do this by accident. And the way to work around this is you wanna, as you turn, tap defense stance and not like tap it. Like you need to hold it for a little bit, like how you see on my controller. But if you press the direction you change to and uh, go in defensive stance right after, uh, you turn around without that ugly animation, and it's a lot faster. And this is like the fastest I've been able to like figure out how to do this. You can there's other ways you can do like turn around without going to the animation, but like they're less inconsistent and less easy to do, and I think slower all around. Um, so yeah, I definitely recommend doing this. You with the ball, it doesn't really matter too much because you can always just push ball. So this doesn't really matter with the ball. This is more like off ball movement. But it's still like really useful because like this animation freaking sucks, bro. No one wants to be in this fucking animation. Let's be for real. The other piece of tech I found is a little more niche, uh, but if you're, because you know how in general like uh, everyone has like this little like defensive dash they can do, like a dash you can do in defensive stance. If you push ball and then you defensive dash into it, you see you get like a forward dash. I never press forward there, but I still move forward like that. And this can like change your momentum like greatly. So like if I'm facing this way, I'm trying to get like over here, I could like push ball back and then defensive dash into it and then move forward and like, and the cool thing about this is you can chain it with the shot. So because the shot when you shoot, it like carries momentum over to like, you know, as you wind up the shot. So you could juke people with this. You could do like, I mean, I'm bad at shooting, but you get the idea. Like you can like pretend like fake one way and then dash into the ball and just go like full speed the other way. You don't also have to shoot either. You could just dash forward, and you could do like even stuff like this where you just keep mixing, and you could also do stuff like this. You know, like pretend like you're going forward and then bah, like it's really tricky, and it's like I don't know how the direction is like determined when you do this dash yet. My theory right now is that like it depends on the way your character is facing. Like when they're like doing the little defensive stance. Um, but yeah, this is like if you want to like look stylish, if you want to like mix people, like especially in the box, you know, I feel like this is like God, I'm so bad at shooting. I feel like just like being able to like move around like that, like just like with this juddedness that like isn't natural, will catch a lot of people off guard. And yeah, so I think this is a really cool piece of tech, not as useful as the other one, but it's cooler. So now I'm gonna go through two gameplay mechanics I found that are like I feel like are pretty important to know to like understand what's going on in the game. The first is about how like the cursor that you see pops up, and because as you may or may not know, you can't really interact with the ball until that cursor pops up. So you can't like push ball, you can't shoot, you can't like do anything that requires like, you know, like you interacting with the ball until that cursor pops up. Um, Rematch did a blog post about this actually, where they talk about how this cursor comes up, And it depends on two things. It depends on the direction you're facing and your velocity towards it. And I don't have proof. I can't figure out how much velocity, like your speed, improves like the range at which you're able to lock onto the ball. But I do know direction matters a lot. So in this clip that you're watching right now, you'll notice that when I'm standing still, facing away from the ball, I can't interact with the ball. But as you'll see now, if I just turn around, I can interact with the ball like instantly as I turn around. And so like your direction matters so much. So one example of this in action is when balls go high over your head. I'm sure you notice like randomly like a ball would just like not have the cursor on it when like you expect it to as it's going over your head, and it doesn't let you do anything like header, like push ball, whatever. And that's because of your direction and your way of traveling. And so you notice in this clip, if you stand still, you see me stand still, and you see me, run forward towards the ball, and both of those just don't interact. I'm not able to interact with the ball at all. But when I start running away towards where the ball is gonna land, that's when I'm able to interact with the ball, and that's because there's a set height limit of how you're able to interact with the ball. It's actually described in the same blog post I mentioned earlier, but it just it's something to keep in mind when you're like trying to go for a high ball. You want to be running towards where the ball is gonna land, not where the ball is like currently at. Like if you're standing still, chances are you're not gonna be able to interact with the ball. But if you're running like towards with like the ball landing, like you will be able to interact with the ball much earlier than you'd expect. So that's definitely another thing to keep in mind when you're like challenging like these 50-50s for like high balls. And so for my last tidbit of information I'm passing on to you, I want to talk about how the buffer system works in this game. And it's kind of crazy how early you can press a button before like the move actually comes out and it'll still come out. So watch my controller while I kick the ball. You see how early I'm holding the shoot button versus when the shoot actually comes out? You can buffer things insanely early in this game. And that's really important for when you're trying to challenge the ball, because as you may or may have not have figured out, the earlier you interact with the ball, the higher the chance you have of actually touching the ball versus when someone else is going for it. And so if you're able to get your button press out as soon as possible, your move out as soon as possible, with something like buffering the move, it gives you an insane advantage over people that aren't doing it. And so like this will, if you feel like you're struggling, like winning 50-50s against other people, is definitely a useful thing to keep in mind. And so yeah, that's pretty much what I found while playing the rematch, and workshopping a little bit, labbing it out. I There are some other things I've discovered that are not as significant, but still pretty important to know. That's also covered in the rematch blog post. Like for example, if you're in defensive stance, you never get the cursor out. Like you can't it takes away the cursor. So like when you're like trying to like challenge a ball, it's not gonna be in defensive stance. Yeah, so I definitely recommend like checking out like those blog posts as well. I'm telling you, there's a lot of information in those fucking posts, bro. Like they go really in depth. They talk about frame data, talk about hitboxes, they talk about like specific numbers of like, and I feel like if you're gonna take this game seriously and try like like go pro at it, for example, it's definitely gives you like a really good advantage of being able to like know like how the game works inside and out. And so yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope like at least one of the things I mentioned is useful for you. If not, you can just flame me in the comments and say I'm fucking useless or whatever. Please don't do that. Actually, that's kind of fucked up. But yeah, thanks for watching and have a good one.